Hi guys, today in this video we will understand the variable ports, then configure an unconnected lookup, then we will use update strategy to insert, update, delete and reject reports. At the end of the session, I will talk about the difference between connected lookup and unconnected lookup. For this demonstration, I will be using a mapping which reads data from my item file, then loads into the relational table. If the items are new, it will be inserted. If the items are already existing, then those items will be updated. If the items are existing but discontinued, those will be deleted from the target table. And if you are getting a new discontinued item, that will be rejected to the BAT file. Here we will be using the item file as a source. Then we have the item table as the target table, and we'll be using expression, unconnected lookup, and update strategy. With that, let's go ahead and start building our mapping. I have already imported the source definition, target definition, and started building the mapping. And I have already put in the items table, and you can see the source qualifier. As the next step, I need to find out if the item is already existing in the target table. For that, I'll be using the lookup transformation. Using the lookup transformation, you can do a lookup or a search into a relation table or a flat file based on a search condition or a lookup condition. Here I'm going to do a lookup on the items table based on the item ID to check if the item is already existing. Here I'm going to create an unconnected lookup. For that, let's go to transformation, create. I'm going to choose the items table from the target definition and OK. You can see the lookup transformation is created here. Do a double click and open the edit mode. Go to the ports. Here I am going to create a new port. I am going to set the port as the input port. So this is the port based on which we are doing the lookup onto the items table. Okay, since this is the unconnected lookup, we are going to get the return from the lookup table or the items table using the return port. Here I am going to set the item ID as the return port, and I am going to uncheck all these output ports because we just need the return port. Now I am going to conditions tab and set the lookup condition. Okay, you can choose the lookup column from here and the incoming lookup column from here. Okay, and the operator is going to be equal. And if you go to properties tab, you can see much more properties here. You can learn about all these properties from one of my previous videos. Okay, with that I have given all the properties required for the unconnected lookup. So click on apply and OK. We are not completely done with the lookup configuration. Now we need to call this lookup and get the item ID from the items table. The process of calling the unconnected lookup can be considered as calling a function or procedure in any procedure language. Okay. Now I am going to create an expression and I am going to call this unconnected lookup in the expression. I am going to drag the item ID to the expression, which is the input parameter for the lookup call, and I am going to drag the discontinued flag. This is the column based on which we are doing the insert, update or delete. Okay, now open the expression. I'm going to create a new port. I'm going to set this port as a variable port. Okay, and I'm going to the expression editor and I'm going to make a call to the lookup. For that you can scroll down to the function explorer and expand the lookups. Here you can see the lookup which we have just created. Do a double click. Now you can see the lookup call is available in the formula editor, and now we need to pass in the parameter. Okay, for that go to the ports and do a double click on the item ID. Okay, here you can clearly see that we are making a call to the unconnected lookup and we are passing the item ID as the input parameter. Okay, do a validate and OK. With this expression we are making a call to the unconnected lookup and we are going to get the item ID from the items table. Okay, now I am going to create one more port. I am going to set this port as output port. Okay, and I am going to open the expression. Here I am going to build an expression based on which we can decide whether the record has to be inserted, updated, deleted, or rejected. Okay, this is the expression I have created. If the item ID coming from the lookup is null and the discontinued flag is 0, then it will be inserted, else it will be rejected. If the lookup ID coming from the lookup table is not null and the discontinued flag is 0, then it will be updated, else it's going to be deleted. Okay, do a validate and okay. If you see here, we have input port, output ports, and variable port. When you have input, output, and variable port, the ports will be evaluated in the order of input, variable, and output. And if you have multiple input, output, and variable ports, it will be evaluated from top to bottom. Okay. With that, we have made a call to the unconnected lookup in this variable port, and we create the output port, which is going to identify whether the record has to be inserted, updated, deleted, or rejected. Click on apply. In the next step, I'll be creating the update strategy and set the records as to be inserted, updated, deleted, or rejected. For that, go to the transformation and create. I'm going to pull all the columns from the source qualifier and the flag from the expression which we just created. This is the column based on which we are doing the insert, update, delete, and reject. Open the update strategy, go to the properties, and here you can see the update strategy expression. Okay, using this expression you can set whether the record has to be inserted, updated, or deleted. Okay, to set the record to be inserted you can use the dd insert, to update you can use dd update, to delete you can use dd delete, and to reject you can use dd reject. Okay, I'm going to create an expression here based on the flag we have created in the previous expression. Okay, this is the expression I have created. Here you can see that if the flag value is insert, I am going to insert this record. If the flag value is update, I am going to update this record. If the flag value is reject, I am going to reject this record. Or if the flag value is delete, then I am going to delete this record. Do a validate and okay. That's the only property we will be setting in the update strategy. So click on apply and okay. As the last step, I need to map the columns from the update strategy to the target table. As a summary, here I read the data from the items file. Then I looked into the items table using an unconnected lookup. Then I set a flag in the expression based on the discontinued flag and the item ID. Then in the update strategy, I set up whether the record has to be inserted, updated, or deleted. Then at the end, the record is loaded to the target table. Okay. With that, I can go to the workflow manager and create the workflow. Here I have created the workflow and the session task myself. Let me open the session and show you some properties which I have given specific for this session. Go to properties. If you go here, you can see treat source as property. Whenever you are using update strategy, you should be choosing the data driven from the drop down. Okay. Now let's go to mapping and go to the target. Here we have set up the session to reject the bad records. So we should be giving the reject file directory and the reject file name. Okay. Now click on OK. Now we shall run the workflow. But before run the workflow, let's see the data in our source table, source file, and let's see what's the expected value after running the session. Here in our target table, we already have 5 records, and in our source file, we have 6 records, and based on the conditions we have given, 2 records will be updated, 1 record will be deleted, 1 record will be rejected to the BAT file, and 2 records will be inserted. Okay, and for the updated record, the price will be updated. Okay, now let's run the workflow. Workflow execution is started and succeeded. Okay, here you can see that it has read 6 records from the source file and written or updated or inserted 5 records, and you can see that 1 record is rejected. Okay, now let's go to the target table and see the records. By the query, here you can see that the records 1001 1002 has been updated with the new price, and you can see the record 1004 is deleted, and you can see 2 new records 1007 and 1008. Okay, now let's go to the reject file and see if the record is rejected there. Okay, from the reject file you can see that the record 1006 is rejected. Now let's go ahead and see what are the major difference between connected and unconnected lookup. First, you can see that connected lookup is part of the mapping flow, and unconnected lookup is not part of the mapping flow. If you look at this mapping, you can see that this connected lookup is part of the data flow. It receives a column from the previous transformation and passes data to the next transformation. But unconnected lookup is not connected to any transformations. Next, the connected lookup can return more than one port. Okay, but the unconnected lookup can return only one port. If you look at this mapping, you can see it is returning 2 ports here. Okay, but if you go to the unconnected lookup, it can return only 1 port. And third, if you look at the mapping, you can clearly see that where the connected lookup is called. But if you look at the unconnected lookup, we cannot clearly say where unconnected lookup is called. If you look at this mapping, we can clearly see the connected lookup is called here. But if you look at this mapping, we really do not know where exactly this lookup is called. And the connected lookup will be called for each and every record which is passed through, but the unconnected lookup can be called conditionally. Okay, and the connected lookup can have a dynamic and static cache, but for the unconnected lookup we can have only static cache. Okay, that's all guys for this video. Please let me know your feedbacks and questions. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions and comments. If you go to my Facebook page, you'll be able to get a list of training session, training manual, and much more information just for the fans. Thank you guys once again. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you. Bye bye.